There's a difference between saying something's bad and saying something's not fun. And on top of that, there's a difference between saying something's not fun and saying something's not fun for you. You're allowed to not like a game, and you're allowed to think it's boring. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's different when you want to say something's bad. Sonic Adventure 2 is probably one of the greatest packages that Sonic Team has ever delivered. It also reviewed well when it came out, and even Takashi Iizuka says that he thinks that's the best Sonic game to this day. Yet it still remains one of the most controversial because of its alternate gameplay styles. A lot of people feel like the mech stages are boring, which is what I felt for a long time as well, I won't lie. But a lot of people really hate the treasure hunting stages. Probably one of the biggest criticisms is the fact that they take so long. A lot of fools get stuck on them. Like even me as a kid, I was in Aquatic Mine for an hour. So a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to most of the treasure hunting stages because of their difficulty. A lot of them are kind of bigger stages, and compared to Sonic Adventure 1, where they had the same gameplay style except they had a different radar system, which would show you all 3 emerald pieces at the same time if they were in the vicinity, while Sonic Adventure 2 will only show you 1 emerald on the radar at a time. So a lot of people take a lot of issue with that. However, I'm here to put a stop to all this mess. Yes, if you don't like treasure hunting stages, that's completely fine. But I hear the same arguments regurgitated all the time. Well, I'm not the type of dude to say skill issue, because I was not good at this mess. And in hindsight, I was never good at treasure hunting until I started making this video. Now I can actually say I'm good at treasure hunting. But this mess is difficult. Even if you played it for a while, it's difficult. You can be doing so much backtracking and walk past emerald pieces you're already right by. Some of the hints really don't make any sense. The translations are scuffed. So why would anybody like this mess? But nah, you can thank Coney for this video. I'm in the Smash community, I love my boy Coney. But it's Coney and Donkey. They pushed me too far to the edge. I cannot have people who are taking 7 minutes on Wild Canyon, 10 minutes on Wild Canyon. Y'all's platforms are too big to be slandering my game with lies. So that's why I'm here right now. Every single critique of the treasure hunting stages from Sonic Adventure 2, I'm destroying all of them. I'm not trying to change your mind and make you say it's good. What I'm really trying to do is show you how to have fun. I'm not trying to tell you how to get like an A rank or anything. I'm trying to help break down these criticisms so you can enjoy the game more. Because there's a lot of people who like, I want to play SA2, I want to just go through the story, but I don't want to do the treasure hunting. So this is supposed to make you have fun with it so you can enjoy that mess. Maybe it's not going to be your favorite thing in the world. I think it will be, but at least just enjoy it enough that you don't see the game as, oh, SA2 is just 1/3 good. I really don't like it when people say that mess. And even I used to even say it's like, oh, it's 2/3 good. It's 2/3, and then Tails, he's okay. He's just there. But nah, I'm starting to see the light with the mix as well. I'm gonna be going stage by stage, and so you know I'm not coping. Just know that I actually almost canceled this video because I could not figure Mad Space out. I really was like, okay, well, I can't call it every criticism because I'm still getting bodied at Mad Space, but I cracked the code. So actually, be prepared. Peace. First thing I want to tackle is the radar. I know a lot of people like the SA1 Radar, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a big hater on the SA1 Radar. I think I was the only SA1 Radar hater in the world because I played Adventure 1 as a kid. I loved Adventure 1 and Adventure 2. But when I started coming back to 1, it frustrated me so much because I was so happy to start playing with Knuckles, and the stages would end in 45 seconds. And I was like, yo, this radar is like, I guess it's too strong. Is it too strong, or is it just the stages are too small? I think it's the combination. If you have a small stage and you have a radar that strong, just think of Wild Canyon. Wild Canyon already takes 1 minute and 30 seconds to beat. It can take 50 seconds if you go crazy. So imagine if you had all 3 radars on in Wild Canyon. that would just be horrendous. But when you get to the bigger stages, like mad space, okay, that's when you might want the 3 radars. But I don't think the solution is to put the SA1 radar into SA2. As you'll see when we get into the video, a lot of the small stages are some of the best in the game. And some of the reasons why it's allowed to shine like that is because of the radar, because it only shows 1 at a time. Wild Canyon is already too fast. I honestly wish it could last longer, but it can't because the radar is already too good, the stage is already too small. If they were to make an SA3, I do not want the SA radar. Now what I would like is, just like how there's the computers around that you can get those for hints, maybe they could have another system like that, like an EMP type thing, where it's like just for a second it'll just, in that area, it'll just show any other emeralds on the radar. Or maybe, you know, the other ones that aren't focused, maybe they just ping like once. I prefer an SA2 radar and SA2 treasure hunting to SA1 any day. And I feel like the only people who really be saying they prefer SA1 over SA2 are people who don't like treasure hunting in the first place, because they can just get it over with. Which is like basically saying you don't want to play the game. And which is fine if you don't like it, but I'm trying to show you that we can enjoy it. So now that we talked about the SA1 radar, now we can talk about the general SA2 stuff that people do not like about this game and how it relates to treasure hunting. So the first one, of course, is the camera. The game has generally an automated camera. When you get into some areas, specifically hallways or cramped places or like hidden corners, what'll happen is that, let's say if you're going to a hallway and you're like turning left, it's like a 90-degree angle. What'll happen is, if you start turning left with your joystick, the game will automate the camera to turn around behind you, but it does it slowly. It does it like kind of late almost, like it's like staggered. So what happens is, when you start making that turn, you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on in front of me, I can't see, so I'm gonna manually turn the camera myself. So then when you press R to start turning the camera, that's finally when the game starts trying to do it as well. So then it starts spazzing out because y'all are fighting against each other. This is something that I have an issue with too. My advice with going through SA2 in general, SA2 I think is a very polished game, but there are areas where it struggles to polish, like the camera, for example. It is a little jank. I know people don't like the idea of like, having to play around bad mechanics, having to play around bad controls or whatever, but honestly, there are moments when it works. It actually does work really well. It actually helps with a lot of cinematic moments as well. My advice when it comes to things like this is you don't fight it. This is like the slogan for SA2. This is what newcomers struggle with the most, is because they try to fight for like all the controls. When it comes with the camera, you know, we'll be trying to move away from it, or like the camera will adjust it for you and you go, hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. And you try to adjust it back, but then it just flips it right back and it just gets crazy. So nah, you just gotta let it do its thing. Anytime you have an issue in this game, I can guarantee almost every time it's just because you need to let go. That's like one of the biggest things. So when the camera starts doing this thing, this is what I do. One, I let it do its thing, and if it doesn't work out, then I stand still and then I adjust my camera and then I proceed. I don't let them both happen at the same time. And sometimes you have to move with the camera too. Like I said, not fight it. Sometimes it's gonna make you, it'll like flip your controls around. So it's like, okay, just go with it. But enough about the camera. The other thing that people struggle with is the ledges. In this game, when you're gliding in the air, essentially if you ever come up on the right angle, or like when you get like right to the ledge, if you try to fly into the ledge, the game will not grab on. What'll happen is he will essentially stop gliding and he'll fall down. And so which doesn't really feel good. That's probably the only complaint I have about Knuckles controls, Knuckles and Rouge's controls, is that when that specifically happens, when you bump into them angles, it don't really feel that good. But of course the solution is go lower. Like just don't fly into the edges, because it's not gonna work. Especially if it's a very thin platform, like the ones that have a lot in mad space and things like those platforms. You have to just try to navigate around it. Just ignore it entirely, like try to jump on top of it or find somewhere else to get on top of and then glide over it. The more you understand the game, the more mastery you have over just the controls, stuff like that, you figure this stuff out, then you won't even deal with them anymore, because it's just stuff you know how to avoid. Another thing people have issue with is running off the ledges. This might be an SA1. I think this might be the only Sonic game where if you try to run off the ledge, it stops you and he does like the wobbly animation. And so if you keep holding the stick forward when he's wobbling, then he'll fall off And so, which does not feel good to a lot of people, and it kills a lot of people on accident. So in this game, if you want to run off a ledge, you have to jump off. You don't just run off. The other issues people have specifically with treasure hunting is half the time they would be solved if they used Omochao. Omochao is actually the freaking GOAT of this game. Omochao will be next to a rocket and will tell you where the rocket goes, will tell you the name of the room that you're in, will explain to you a gimmick. Especially when you're unfamiliar with the stage, especially if it's your first time playing, that is the biggest thing I see people who don't know how to play do. They always ignore Omochao, especially experienced gamers. Experienced gamers, they go in, oh, it's a Sonic game, it's an easy game, and they don't do any tutorial, they don't listen to Omochao, they don't even know what Omochao does, and then they're struggling and they're wondering why. The last thing that people don't like about the treasure hunting stages, that's not specific to a stage, of course. Of course, I'm going to go through every specific stage, but a lot of people don't like, because people don't like the hint system. In SA1, it just had the Takal orb, where she would say this way, and then she would just fly in the direction of the emerald. In this game, they have like these floating computers, and they will give you a hint about where it's at, but most of the time the hint doesn't make any sense, or it's poorly translated. So it's like, what gives? Like, how is this supposed to be helping me? Like, that was absolutely no help. Thanks a lot. That's what I used to think, but now my eyes have been opened. So the hint system gives you 3 hints per emerald shard. And what happens is when you go to a computer, it'll give you a hint and then it'll disappear. And then if you pause it, the hint will still show up, but the computers will all be invisible and you will not be able to interact with them for about like 8 seconds. And then you're able to go to the next one, and until you get all 3 hints. And each hint gets simpler and simpler. The first hint is almost always, depending on the stage, it can be very cryptic, and it can make no sense unless you just have it memorized. But the third hint, a lot of times, I did not realize this, the third hint low-key be just pointing you in the direction between. It's basically the Takal orb, but way better. It will literally be like, go over there. It'll literally say, oh, it's in the hallway, or it's actually that big painting right there. And it's like, wow, thank you. Actually, that's also dependent on the stage, because some stages don't really do that. Some are still kind of difficult, but that's where you have to know the level, especially a lot of the own levels, like language. Some levels where you're not going to understand the hints until you understand the stage. Like, can anybody tell me what a tank is in Meteor Herd? If you don't know what a tank is, then when it tells you, oh, it's at the tank by the blue moon, then that makes no sense to you unless you know, oh, okay, I know what a tank is, I know what a blue moon is. And then all this stuff becomes so much simpler. So that's also what I'm gonna break it down for you, is how the hint system is actually freaking goated in this game. It's so goated, in fact, that I've been enlightened on what treasure hunting is. And I've divided treasure hunting stages into 2 categories. There's 2 ways to play this game, right? If you play it all one way, then some of the stages are going to be absolute garbage. When you play treasure hunting stages, some stages are scan focused, and there are some stages that are hint focused. So what does that mean? Scanning in a treasure hunting stage is when you're basically going around the entire stage and just trying to get a ping. That's how most people play the game. Most people, the hints don't make sense, so they just spend the whole game scanning. So then they're just hoping to get a ping just by process of elimination. And then they'll backtrack and start over and over again, which takes a lot of time, depending on how you scan and which stages you scan on. And some stages, it is miserable to scan like that. In my opinion, there's some fools like the speedrunners or whatever, they know they're pretty good at scanning, or like the fools who be the real cold fools, they can scan on mad space, but even when they scan, the mess takes so long and it's so tedious. So like I said, I'm not trying to teach you the best way to get it. I'm teaching you how to have the most fun. So to me, I do not scan on mad space. What I do on mad space is I use the hint focus method. So this is what I do. Oh, actually, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil that. You want to say mad space for the end. So, but just know this. There's the hint focus stages and the scan focus stages. When I go through each stage, I'll let you know which is which. Wow, can't wait, but Beast, you know hints, they take away your score, bro. Like, I know we're trying to have fun, but I'm also trying to get a good score too. Okay, yeah, I understand that. So every time you use a hint, it basically takes away how many points you could potentially get when you use an emerald, right? But the thing is, you get a time bonus when you do, with all stages, you get a time bonus. So if you're going to go do the hint method, then that's where you mainly prioritize speed. You have to prioritize speed, and of course you got to get your rings and you got to get your enemies. But that's where, to me, those stages feel the most like a time attack mode. Those, if you want to get the A rank, which is, to me, that's the funnest way to play, is to get an A rank. I always want to get an A rank when I do treasure hunting. So if I'm doing the hint focus stages, it's like, it's really down to the wire. And with those stages, it's not even, you're not even looking for the emeralds, basically. You're really looking for the computers, because the computers, once you use it, it goes away. So especially like the bigger stages, it's like you're not even, you need the hint to point you where to go. But in order to get them to point you where to go, you have to find the computers. So that's where it can get very, very interesting. And you can still get the A rank on the hint focus modes. But one thing I will say about these stages, a lot of these stages have a lot of detail put into them. It actually makes me almost emotional how much effort and how much artistic quality is put into these stages. First of all, just artistically, and just how much like effort they did to show, not tell. I don't know how many Sonic games you can think, besides like the classics, where Sonic Team really shows, not tell. The treasure hunting stages exemplify that to like bar none in 3D Sonic games. Like, lights are extremely important in the treasure hunting stages. A lot of places are labeled by color and that you don't even really know. Pay attention to your surroundings, like the atmosphere. It's not just atmosphere. A lot of them, they are actually teaching you stuff. I truly do love the stages. And the way I got to that way is, if you are unfamiliar with the level before, especially if you never played the game before, if you're on the story mode and you never played the game before, this is what you do, bro. The very first time you get into a treasure hunting stage, do not look for any emeralds. Just go around the stage and explore the stage. Not necessarily memorize it, but understand how to navigate it, how to go around it, how to go in a circle and whatnot. Because Sonic Team was very clever with their level design. Back in Sonic Adventure 1, the stages were just the Sonic stages. They just reskinned and they put some emeralds in there. I mean, it's still fun. Sonic's, a lot of them look nice, but these treasure hunting stages, there's like 2 different types of levels that they did in this game. Most stages have like a main area, and then they have 2 or 3 side areas. Most of the time they have 3, or the whole stage is just 3 big areas. That's how some stages are too. But for the most part, you start off in the main area. They have 3 side areas you can go to, and which are essentially your hotspots. So once you understand that, if you can go into a stage, you can go into Aquatic Mine and understand the 3 main areas of Aquatic Mine, and it changes the way you even approach the level and how you even think about it. Going into the level and then doing a quick run through of it without the stress of looking for the emeralds, once you go and reset and actually do look for the emeralds, you realize you're not walking around aimlessly looking for stuff. All your energy is so much more focused. But of course, along with that, they have like a lot of mini areas, like a lot of side stuff, especially in stages like Death Chamber, and especially on like a first playthrough, you get really bogged down with that kind of stuff, because you think, okay, where's the emerald? Okay, I'm not getting any pings. Oh, what is this side room? Let me go check the side room out. Oh, is anything gonna ping in here? Oh, I can dig through this wall. Let me go dig in here real quick. But that's not how you play the game. Honestly, I ignore all of that stuff unless I get a ping. Unless I get a ping, or unless I get a hint that tells me, oh, that's where I'm going, all of that side mess gets ignored. It's only the main stuff. And some stages are small enough to where just being in the middle will get your radar to ping, like Wild Canyon. But some stages do require backtracking. But there are, of course, some stages that the backtracking is not worth it, and it's not even fun unless you use the hint focus method. We have Wild Canyon first, and like I said earlier, just don't even use hints, bro. Like, this is the easiest stage in Sonic Adventure 2, period. This is the easiest stage. This is the only stage in the game where you can A rank it in less than a minute. The only reason you probably won't A rank it is if like you're exploring or you're messing around with the mechanics and trying to figure stuff out. Of course, this is like one of the stages that I would say has the main area. That's where you spawn in, where the big old wind thing is shooting you up. That's such a unique design too. Like, oh my gosh, they were in their bag, bro. That mess looks fire. So yeah, then that wind can blow you up, and then there's like another central area right where the wind is, and then there's the 2 little side areas. And so it's just, you just scan on. This is a scan focus stage. I didn't mention this before, but so if you're trying to look for A ranks, right, or if you're trying to get ranks up, this is the other aspect of treasure hunting that a lot of people don't realize. It's not just about time. It's not just about getting the emerald. It is really about, just in Sonic Adventure 2 in general, it's about destroying enemies. So a lot of times you have to go and look for enemies to go and kill them, especially depending on what method you're using. And some stages, like, it requires you, like, you can't just get, you're not gonna get good enough RNG to like beat the stage in a minute. So like, you have to kill enemies, you have to get a certain amount of rings, you have to find 1-ups, because 1-ups give you a lot of points. And it's also fun too. It's fun kind of memorizing where the enemies are too, and then, you know, killing them as well.
The fighting's over.
Dry Lagoon. Now these are one of those stages that can be hell on your first playthrough. But once you learn it, it is a major vibe. But what I do a lot of times on Dry Lagoon is, as soon as I start, I climb up to the top of Dry Lagoon. You go and you kill all those enemies around the top, because half the time when you kill one, emerald is already there waiting for you. After that, free homegrown my turtle, and then jump into the next area. And it's so simple. But of course, in your first playthrough, you don't know no better. Especially like the turtles. The turtles get a lot of people tripped up. The turtles are simple. There's one turtle that brings you from the beginning area into the side area. If you go and swim into the lagoon, you'll see making like a little lap is another turtle. And the turtle is bringing you to what's called the underwater prison. And so all you have to do is, when you get on these turtles, you just gotta press B. And so you just gotta get behind the turtle and you press B and you'll hold on to one's fin. And then, yeah, there shouldn't be any issue. But of course, people don't know that when you're first playing. So like the beginning area, that's what we call the main area. And then you have the 3 areas. You have the lagoon and you have the 2 springs on the side. I would say that's probably the biggest criticism of that level, is the fact that the turtles are confusing, and like, especially if you're not using the radar efficiently, so you're just wasting like 5 minutes messing with this dumb turtle. And so if you go into the next area and you get an automatic ping, you want to be sure that it's not in the underwater jail or not, because you don't want to be backtracking or stuff like that. So the first thing I do is, I will just, if I get a ping, I just jump in the water and I try to press my face up against that jail cell. And if it gets stronger, then, or if it gets weaker, then I already know, like, okay, is it end the sale or not? Then I know if I even need to go underwater in the first place. It's a lot of fun too. The music is amazing. The freaking butterflies and flowers. Oh my gosh, this stage is magnificent. I also forgot to bring up the weakness for Wild Canyon, but I couldn't really think of any. I don't even bother looking at the hints, so I don't know if the hints suck or not. Same with Dry Lagoon. I have no idea if those hints suck. And so for Dry Lagoon, you should be finishing this stage in about 2 minutes or so. That's how I would give it. It really shouldn't take any longer than that. Oh, by the way, I do have mods, but none of them change any of the physics or any of the gameplay stuff or anything. They're purely just cosmetic. Pumpkin Hill.
This place sure feels haunted. There's no time to lose. I have to hurry and find the Master Emerald.
This is where treasure hunting starts being fun for a lot of people. But remember what I said. This is one of those stages where you have 3 main hills: Church Mountain, Railroad Mountain, and Pumpkin Mountain. And then you have the lower area, which is like where you start off on and spawn, which you can count that as an area if you want. You can count that as the main area. It connects everything together. So that could be the type of stage. But also you have a lot of these big old pumpkins in the background, these big pumpkin mountain things. So this, you might be thinking this is a hint stage, but no, this stage is actually very doable as being a scanning stage. It's probably the funnest scanning stage in the game for me. So this is what I do, is when you start off on the ground, I fly over to those rockets and it takes me up to the mountain. It really don't matter which mountain, I just pick one. A lot of times I go left, but yeah, I fly around for like no more than 10 seconds. I fly around, I scout around, and then if I don't get a ping, then I just move on to the next mountain. A lot of times you have to get like behind the mountain. You have to go like kind of start at the top and then kind of intermittently go down, because sometimes you can be on one side of the mountain and it don't ping. So you go around the whole thing, gradually going down the whole time, and then you move on to the next mountain. And then if you don't get a ping on that one, then you just go to the next one. And if those big jack-o'-lantern pumpkin stalks, those big old mountains are in between, yeah, you can go and fly over there real quick, see if you'll get a ping. But if not, just go on to the next one. And this is a situation, like I said, the scanning level, but it's not like a hard and fast rule. This is just what is most fun. So it's not very fun to go through, to try to scan each mountain and you realize you don't get anything, and you also flew to load of jack-o'-lanterns, you didn't know what's going on. You can go ahead and pop a hint. Like, go ahead and pop one of the hints. So a lot of times I'll get to like 2 mountains and then I will just hit the hint. I think that's one of the big complaints about this stage, is that the stage is so big. There's a lot of spikes everywhere. You know, especially like more casual Sonic fans or people who don't really like Sonic in general, they really hate getting hit. I think a lot of people have a misconception when it comes to Sonic because they think Sonic's supposed to go fast. So whenever he's not going fast, people get really upset, like especially compared to other games. But yeah, you can see the stage is kind of simple. The stage is kind of simple, like it really don't take much. There are some of like the islands, which is another critique. Some of the islands, there are a few islands that are like on the outskirts of the map that like you have to get very close to get a ping. And so people can get frustrated because like they will be scanning, and they'll be going around for 15 minutes, and then they just realize it's on this little mountain. The ping wouldn't even hit until like you're right in front of it.
I found him.
And now we're here at Aquatic Mine.
I didn't expect the inside of the mines to be like this. This is gonna be tougher than I thought.
And this stage, so I always love the stage, but this is probably the sleeper. People don't realize this is the sleeper, or maybe they do. This is the sleeper, one of the worst stages in the treasure hunting, in all the treasure hunting. It's weird. This is like one of the stages where the radar is arguably too strong. There are 3 layers. There's the first floor that you're on, you're on floor number 1, then it goes number 2, then it goes number 3. Of course, there's like a little attic up top where you can switch the water level. On floor number 1, there's one entryway. You can go into this little sewer. Then on floor number 2, there's 2 different entryways. You can go into a mine shaft, or you can go into another sewer. And then on the 3rd floor, there's 1 entryway. Actually, a lot of pieces will definitely spawn in that main shaft way. A lot of times you can spawn into the game immediately and you're already getting a green ping. And it's like, where is this mug? And it's because like it's a little too sensitive. Like you can be running around in circles just for the same piece in that same main area. So there's that issue. It's the camera, obviously. This camera, because this has a lot of very cramped spaces. Everybody knows if you ever got the air necklace, of course, going into that brick sewer and trying to get out, that's probably where the camera struggles with the most in the entire game. But of course, just try to do what the camera wants you to do. And that's how you get out of that situation the easiest. That and the mine shaft, that's the struggle. And the mine shaft has all these little like pitfalls in there. They have like 2 different pitfalls where the camera can struggle. And in order to even enter them, the water has to be specific heights. And so you can do a lot of backtracking, knowing an emerald is down there in the mine shaft. And then, okay, my place is all the way drained. Okay, let me put on level 2. Okay, actually I need it on level 1, so let me go back to level 1. And it's, it can be kind of infuriating. And it's one of the only stages where I feel like memorizing a piece location is actually like the difference between a 3-minute run and a 6-minute run. Like just knowing those fine details, like about like raising the water and like what it does, that stuff saves so much freaking time. And I know everyone gets scared over the water, but it's no big deal. The air necklace, low-key, isn't really that necessary because this is how I play the stage. What I do is if I get a green ping, then okay, I will try to look for that first piece. But if I can't just get it initially, then I immediately go and drain all the water. You go up into the attic and drain all the water down to the 3rd floor. Because I don't deal with water unless I literally need it to get a piece. Then I never use water at all. And if you drain it all the way, then it makes sure all like the main entryways are open. All the sewers will be open for you to go into. Make sure you try to kill all the enemies. In any room you go into, I always try to kill all the enemies. Especially on the 3rd floor, that spike robot, like every 3rd attempt you have, he will always have a freaking emerald shard. That's like the game's favorite place to put an emerald shard is that guy right there. So I almost always kill him. But this is a stage that I consider like I kind of do hybrid between scanning and using hints. A lot of times I will try to scan and then I use hints. The hints can also be very confusing too. In reality, it's probably a better headache to not use hints, but I try not to use hints on this stage, and like it's doable, but honestly it's a little easier if you just go ahead and use hints. But it can really mess up your score if you use the hints, but you don't have the water stuff like all the way figured out. And a lot of times, like, you won't really know exactly what it's asking for to know what the water is. So if you use a hint, you're probably going to get a bad ranking. So when it comes to scanning with this level, if you have no ping and you start off and the water is all the way drained, then yeah, you fly down on each level and you're going to get a ping eventually. The stage is very small. And so I basically go to the doors. If you're not getting a ping when you're going close to the door, then it's not there. But if you go through the whole chamber and all the doors and you're not getting a ping, then that's where you might have to go into in that brick sewer where the air necklace is. Cause that's the only place where like it will not ping at all unless you go actually into the sewer. Security hall.
I'm in position, Doctor. Tell me when.
There's been an unexpected delay on my end. There's no more time to waste. Set the timer for 15 minutes. Let's go, Room.
5 minutes should be plenty. Here I go.
Besides mad space, this is probably the level people hate the most in this game. Homegirl says 5 minutes will be plenty. Man, that's such a freaking boss move, but oh my gosh, that's so... Oh, that used to make me so mad. This is one of my favorite stages of the game. And this is another scanning stage. This is actually a very tiny stage. This is really separated into two areas. There's a main area at the bottom, and then there's the upstairs. So this bottom, as you'll see, is that it's just a whole bunch of vaults. There's your red vaults at the bottom, your yellow in the middle, and your blue at the top. And it's all separated into sections. On the right side of the building, it's the A section. It's the red A's, the yellow A's, the blue A's. Then in the middle, it's the B section, and then it's the C. But one of the big complaints people have with the stage, people hate the time limit. It's too strict, there's not enough time. The lasers, fools hate the lasers so much. The lasers be killing folk, and especially if you play on the PC port, bro. The PC port freaking glitches it. Like some of the lasers, you can't see them. A lot of people don't know what these side areas right here, all these enemies are, all these moving lasers. This is to open the freaking vaults. So you can only have one vault open at a time. It starts off with the yellow vault open, but once you hit the switch, it locks all the vaults, but it will unlock the one you hit. So like trying to unlock the vault, you can't go in through the top. They put in, which is pretty clever honestly, they put a freaking wind box at the top so that you just hover out of it if you try to like cheese it. So you can't cheese it, you have to go through the lasers. First thing I do is I just scan the first floor. I just run in a circle. Run in a circle, I kill all the enemies I see because I have a lot of emerald shards in these enemies, especially on the first floor. So you just go and you kill them, and then you go upstairs. And then if they're on the first floor and nothing's triggered, then most likely by the time you go on the spring, you start going up, something's gonna trigger, so then you can go and check it out. Maybe it's in the vault, and then so you can clarify which switch you're gonna hit, or maybe it's just hanging out in the open. And then when you go to the second floor, also there's a gold beetle. So yeah, so if like I said, if you're trying to get rank, some stages the gold beetle really is clutch. But like if you are using hints, you're going slow, the gold beetle will help a lot, and of course killing enemies and things like that. So I'll try my best to remind people where the gold beetles are, but that's only if I remember. I should have mentioned this. I don't have any of this stuff memorized, just so you know. I don't have any of the piece locations memorized, besides the ones I naturally just like know from playing the game. But I don't have the hints memorized. There's some that I recognize, especially I've been playing it so much this week. There's some I recognize, but no, I don't have this mess memorized. But yeah, security hall is not bad. You just have to understand like the mechanism. When you understand the gimmick, and you just understand just how to scan. So you see the A rank. See, I almost got 4 minutes, but I still got the A. But yeah, this is a great stage. Now we're on Death Chamber, baby. Let's freaking go. This is, I think, my favorite stage in the game right now. This freaking Death Chamber. I don't know how this happened, but it's because of this, bro. I did my walkthrough of the level, and then I see this freaking map. I never knew what this freaking was in my entire life. And I realized, I'm like, it has the freaking mini marker where it shows where you are, and this whole stage is just a triangle. And so this is a stage that I discovered the hint method. if you try to just run around and try to scan and you're just gonna backtrack a million times over, because the radar, this stage is all hallways. And so nothing is ever gonna pick up on the radar unless you're literally doing a lap around the entire thing. So no, you do not scan on this stage. It's just gonna be miserable. What you do is this is a stage that can be a little bit more difficult to find the actual computers. But what you're gonna do, you're gonna talk to the computers. If you already don't know what the hints are telling you to go to, then you just get more hints till you get 3. And I guarantee you, the last hint is just going to say, so you see, if we're looking at the map, you see there's a red room, which is the egg scorpion room. There's the blue room, which is I forgot what it's called, the egg something room. And then there's the green room, that's the egg bird room. And then you see there's like pathways in between it. Those like blue parts of the map, that's just like the pathways. So every single hint is gonna, like, third one is gonna end up telling you, oh, the path between the red room and the green room. And that's literally it. So all you have to do is when you go, and then this main room is the like pyramid generator room. And so what you do a lot of times, if you don't have any pings or you don't know where anything is and you don't want to like accidentally waste time, so just head to the pyramid generator room. And the top floors, they have the red and blue rooms. And then on the bottom floor, the green room. That's the only one on the bottom floor. But the thing is, this one, you have to be fast. Like I said, the hints knock down points. So if you want to A-rank this stage, you have to like really be booking it. And you have to kill all the enemies. So you be going through these hallways and you be trying to play perfectly, book it through everyone. And this stage has some doors you have to got freaking squeeze through. And they have some enemies that are like a little bit more difficult to fight against. Especially the E102 Gamma. You gotta be zooming, bro. And this is why the stage is so much fun. And the music is so good. Unless my hint tells me I'm going to a side room, I'm not going into the side room. So basically, I'm just playing a stage with 3 rooms and 3 hallways and a main room. That's literally it. I simplified the mess out of this stage, and now it's freaking goated. And now it's probably one of my favorite treasure hunting stages. Because like I said, it's basically, it's not a treasure hunt, it's like a scavenger hunt kind of. Like you tell me where to go, and then you give me a little hint where to go, whatever. And so now I'm just trying to hurry through that. So first thing you do, you memorize the map. Do your walkthrough of the stage, and just make sure you have a good layout. Of course, you don't have to memorize it all the way. I don't even have the stage memorized all the way. I don't really understand what the side rooms. And of course, kill every enemy. Especially on this stage, they have a lot of pieces on them as well. A lot of the Master Emerald pieces. So yeah, make sure you kill them so you can get lucky and finish the stage even faster. This stage can take like 5 minutes. That's the thing though, it's not even about the time. I think that's the thing. People aren't necessarily upset that it takes a long time. It's just that it's like aimless, stuck, lost, hopeless, that kind of feeling. This, you see, I am moving with purpose. Like every action I do, you see I'm freaking laser focused. I know where I'm going. I know the time that's links between like each computer. I knew it was gonna take like 8 seconds. So a lot of times I would just start running in the direction where I know there are enemies to kill while I'm waiting for a new computer to pop up. Try to optimize all the time so I had like no downtime. I try not to just be sitting there waiting in front of a computer. I try to make sure I'm doing something. Even though like a stage can take like 4 or 5 minutes, of course I'd be in the stage in 2 minutes before.
It's closer. I found him.
So now we're on egg quarters.
This is Rouge. I've located Eggman's base and will proceed to enter it now. I hate to say it. I guess I'm going to have to find that key first.
And this stage used to scare the mess out of me as a kid. I actually forgot about Mad Space. Mad Space is not my least favorite stage. It was this stage. That big old freaking beetle robot when they shoot them lasers at you and the screen starts turning green. I hated that mess so freaking much, dude. Like that mess used to scare me. A lot of people don't like that mess, right? But bro, just ignore him. If he hits you, so what, bro? Like that's what I realized. So what if he hits you? Just ignore him. Half the time, if you can run right past him. And this is a hint stage. So again, you're just going to be grinding hints. All you do, you don't even have to use hints. I actually tried out without hints. You can just run around in circles. This is what you do. This is, like I said, this is a time attack stage. basically. So you're just running around in circles. I don't have any of these. This map. This is the only map in the game I do not have memorized. This is like a smaller version of Death Chamber. It is not, except that this does not have that big old power room with the pyramid. You make sure you kill all the enemies. If you're going fast enough, even if you use hints, even if you don't have all the rings, blah blah blah, you're still gonna A-rank the mess out of this. So of course, I recommend that you walk through the level first, understand these rooms, because there's really not that many rooms. There's only 4 rooms. There's the egg scorpion room, the red room. There's the egg fish room, the blue room. And there's the egg snake room, the green room. And then there's like this flower room where it's like this big old sacrificial fiery place with all the monkeys in there. So just ignore Big Bertha, Big Beetle, whatever her homegirl's name is. And the stage is so freaking simple, and it's so much fun. These stages are so fun. You're just freaking running, and it's actually like you're just running and killing enemies, and you don't have to look for the pieces. They're going to come up because the stage is not that small. So you see, we're almost halfway. Wait, we're almost done with all the treasure hunting stages, and all of them take like 3 minutes. But like you see, if you had the SA1 radar on a lot of this mess would have went by so much faster. Like all of these stages would have been like 1 minute. If you know the stage, then they take like 3-4 minutes. Besides Aquatic Mine, if you know it moderately, it still can take you long just because the water is probably gonna mess you up. Meteor Herd. We're almost at freaking mad space, but Meteor Herd, I am like stuck because I feel like this. Y'all are gonna think I'm crazy. I think this might be the hardest stage in the game. If you don't know, if you don't understand, this is a stage. These last 2 stages, what makes them hardest is that they're hint focused stages. At least for me, I think these should be hint focused stages, but they require a lot of terminology to know. So let's talk about the main areas of the stage. Going lower, there are the platforms that are hanging over the moon. Like we're on the moon right now, and there's basically 3 layers that's right beneath the arc, and then there's like the middle area, and then there's the really low area that you don't normally go to unless you're climbing up the steel tower. So first we have the arc, aka what a lot of times they say, especially on you just say on Mad Space, they call it the inverted tower. On Meteor Herd, there's 2 layers to the arc. There's like a lower layer where they have like these balconies, like they have like the platforms that are connected to the tower, and then they have like an even higher balcony area. And these names, I'm being specific with the names, right? I'm not just calling it the arc to call it the arc. I'm calling it because the hints will literally say the arc, or they will say the inverted tower. And if you don't know what the inverted tower is, you're not going to know where to go. Also, what the stage can say is the steel tower. The steel tower is the big old thing in the middle where Knuckles and Rouge fight. But there are steel drilling towers, and the steel drilling towers are the ones that are on the outside that looks like your typical like oil towers that you'd see in real life. Another terminology you need to know is tanks. I was like, tanks? You talking about these bulldozer looking things? Like I tried to go to the bulldozer, none of them did anything. But no, they're talking about these freaking water tanks, or I guess they're oxygen tanks. I don't know what they are, but anytime they mention tanks, that's what they're talking about. They introduce these little colorful logos that are in the ground for you to dig into. Well, some of them will be blue moons, and some of them will be stars. And so a lot of questions literally will have a hint that literally just says blue moon. It'll say like blue moon next to a meteor. And I'm like, a blue moon? Are you talking about those big old blue meteors that you hit down at the very bottom? But no, that's a meteorite. The most confusing thing about Mad Space is the platforms. And like trying to, first is the terminology. So if you master the terminology, then the hints make this so much easier. You also have to figure out how to navigate those platforms, because they can be really difficult as well. They can take a long time, and this is why I feel like this is low-key. This and Aquatic Mine, I feel like this is the hardest stages in the game. See, before I swear the stage is the hardest stage in the game, but I just beat this mug, and I do not have these hints memorized, bro. So but I do know the terminology. I sat there figuring out what all the terminology is, at least for the most part. Finally, thank you for sticking with me. I hope I've been able to help you out, and hopefully I can help you get past the beast, Mad Space. So here's, first of all, they give you these freaking hints backwards. These fools are sick. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. They give you the hints backwards, but don't panic. Just pause it and then freaking read it. Just pause it and then like take your time to read it through. And this is what they do. If they say it backwards, then they're telling the truth, right? If it's not backwards, then that means they're lying. That means you have to do the opposite of what they say. So if they say a high place and it's written in the King's English, then that means you go to a low place. Like that's the kind of mess they be doing. So you have to be very careful with these hints. So to be successful in that space, you have to understand the clues. The same thing with Meteor Herd. You have to understand what the clues are trying to tell you to go. If you don't know their terminology, then they're not helpful. Crescent moon with green growing blank. And also what it'll do, if they take up 2 lines, you're supposed to read the second line that's on the bottom first. That's the other thing that was tripping me the hell up. You can beat mad space in 3 minutes consistently if you use my method. You may not A rank it each time because this stage has a very strict A rank. There's a lot of capsules and things like that. There's a lot of enemies you have to kill in order to get an A rank, and you just have to be very fast. And if you're using hints, it makes it hard, but the A rank is still doable. That's why you see at the beginning of the game, you see me going down immediately underneath the platforms we start off, and I put on my sunglasses. I have a mod that lets me put on my sunglasses indefinitely, and it doesn't make the screen blue. But that's what I'm doing. I'm summoning the capsules so I can get more points. So that's what everybody should be doing at the beginning of the game if you're shooting for like the A rank. And just to be clear, the game does have some, when it comes with hints, I've only ever experienced it once so far, but some of the hints have been wrong. Like they had a hint talking about the black platform, but it was talking about that freaking yellow car that drives around this planet. So just be aware of that. That mess can be janky. So now let's go into the big criticisms of the stage. There's 2 things that people really don't like. It's the gravity. People, especially I remember when I was a kid trying to fly on these planets, bro. It would be freaking hell on earth trying to navigate it, changing your controls and all this stuff. Oh, it just felt horrible. But you realize that if you use a hint system and you know where you're going, you will rarely ever be even flying in that gravity. And if you are, because this is what we used to do. We used to be flying on the stage and aimlessly hoping to get a ping. So, but in this thing, you rarely even be in the gravity, if that. It's only with specific stuff. Yeah, the controls, that's something I will admit. The controls with the gravity, I am not a fan of how they just flip your controls around, and it's just I don't like that. So that's something that people don't like, and people don't like how big the stage is, and the fact there's only 1 radar. It must take a long time, and of course the hints backwards, all that stuff. So now let's go through the terminology. How are we going to talk about the stage in a way to understand the hints? This stage has 5 areas. So you have your main area that you start off in, but you have 3 planets. You have the spherical planet, aka the gravity meteorite. That's what they will call it inside of the hints. Anytime they're trying to tell you, like, they will try to tell you, oh, go to the place where the gravity changes, where it has the walkie controls. That's this freaking gravity stage. You see they got these jewels growing out of the planet. And there's several planets that it grows on, and there's some platforms it grows on too. So that also tripped me up as well. I'm like, what are you talking about growing jewels? You talking about the Chaos Emeralds? You talking about them growing? And I realized, I'm like, oh, okay. Then we have the grass planet, aka the capsule planet. This one, it's always the easiest pieces, bro. And it leads to everywhere. They have springs on that towards the bottom end of it. There are springs that lead directly to the 3rd planet. Which in turn will lead you to the tower in the sky. The capsule planet has 3 machines on it. If you see all them like little fan looking things with the tubes, with the big old tubes attached, they call it, the hints call them machines. And all of them are labeled 1, 2, and 3. That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like I never realized that mess. Like they actually I thought it was just like, okay, it's whatever. I don't know what this is. I get it's supposed to look like a capsule, like with the rings in it. I didn't even realize that. Maybe that's why it's called the capsule planet. But Yeah, they have 3 machines on there, and almost all the clues or the hints are going to be talking about the machines. As soon as they start bringing up the machines, most of the time hints, when they say machine, they're either talking about a bad guy, or like on this stage, they're talking about the capsule planet. And a lot of times they will just number the hint for you, or they will number the machine that you want you to go to. The gravity can be a little annoying on the ends, but most of the time you're not even, the only time it's annoying is when you're just trying to get off of it. But of course, if you find the springs will help. And then the third planet is the Holy Planet, aka the largest meteorite. That's what they call it all the time, the largest meteorite. And of course, sometimes they be saying the opposite, so they'll call it the smallest meteorite. But that's because they're lying to you. I did misspeak earlier. I guess technically there's 6 areas. I guess that would be more accurate. So now you can go above the Holy Planet. It has a rocket that takes you up to the Ark, aka the inverter tower that they call in mad space. The last area is technically the very bottom of the stage. It's essentially just a ring of tiny platforms all along the outskirts of mad space. There can occasionally be pieces here, but if I were you, I wouldn't waste your time trying to scan or trying to go over there unless you have a clue that says something about it. Like if they ever have a clue that's in the King's English talking about a high place, then you know it's most likely talking about those ring of platforms. So as you see, a large portion of the stage you're probably not even going to go to if you focus on the hints. If you don't use the hints, scanning will require you to go to all of these crazy places and take up so much time and do so much backtracking, especially if you have some really bad RNG. The hint focus method on this stage makes sure that you're just having a little scavenger hunt. Mad space is technically hard just because of the A rank. It's much harder to find enemies in capsules and rings. It's way easier to get hit and lose rings, and they're way more strict with what will give you the A rank and what will not. Even getting the gold beetle up at the top near the balconies isn't always enough sometimes, so you kind of have to be well optimized. And now, the treasure hunting stages for SA2 is finished. We went through stage by stage, classifying them as either scan focus stages or hint focus stages, and spoke about the best ways to avoid the BS and maximizing the amount of fun we're having. If you stuck with me to the end, especially if you're not a treasure hunter lover, major props to you. Like for real. That's what you call an open-minded bastard right there. The whole purpose of this video was just to show that it's not as tedious and as impossible as it seemed to be, and there is indeed a lot of method to the madness. And once you put all the pieces together, it really is something incredible that is really unique to gaming in general. I don't know of a single type of game that has this kind of gameplay, but here's to hoping that maybe you will give it a try. Here's what I think that y'all should do. If you never played treasure hunting before, or if you're previously someone who didn't really like it, or even if you did think you like it, it may seem like we're doing too much, but I promise it really did have some crazy results for me. See, I used to think that I was a treasure hunter lover, but this made me realize that I didn't know what love was. I never experienced love, but now I know what it is. It's that Master Emerald. Now I got that radar in me too. But try to walk through or try the stages out in their scan focus or hint focus play styles. Or if there's a different way to play that I didn't think of, then feel free to tell me and let's talk about it in the comments. But at the end of the day, I really hope that this is able to help you get some more enjoyment out of Sonic Adventure 2. It makes me sad when people aren't able to enjoy the game that they spent $60 on or however many dollars on, especially when the games don't have like the best tutorials and there are a lot of like hidden aspects that you wouldn't know. Please let me know down in the comments if you found any of this insightful or if there are any corrections that you want to give me. My boy Coney can try this hoe out again. That boy Dunk, if my boy Dunk, you can see this hoe become a treasure hunter lover, that would be the biggest plot twist in history, and I'm here for it. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll be making a mech video probably, I don't know when. I'm really not that good at the mech yet, so I really need to get my knowledge base up about it first. And then ultimately, I'm probably going to make one about the speed stages too, because there's still people who have some issues with them. I also have so many different Sonic videos in my head about Sonic and Shadow generations and the future of the adventure and boost styles, so be on the lookout for those as well. Drop me a sub if you enjoyed the video, and you're a real one if you made it this far. God bless. Y'all be safe. Peace.